The story begins with a girl and her maid surrounded by some pussies, bandits. The bandits are trying to have their way with the innocent girls, but our armored protagonist appears. With a single slash, he cuts down 4 sorry-ass noobs around the girl. The armored hero introduces himself as Ark, as he thinks to himself that these guys were f***ing ruining this anime with that out-of-pocket rated R scene. We rewind a few hours and find our fucking massive armored MC waking up under a tree. He suddenly realizes he's in a strange body and in the middle of a strange world. He freaks out, but after calming down, he realizes that his gear has light and fire element resistance and all kinds of passive abilities. This is the holy armor of Belinus, along with the Twilight Cloak, the holy shield of Tutates, and the holy Thunder Sword, so he realizes he's inside his favorite video game. No truckun or anything, he just fell asleep while playing the game and woke up as his character, so he decides to test out his abilities. He tries out a wyvern slash, but it turns out to be so powerful that he ends up slashing several trees with a single swing. Throw an F in the chat for the fallen trees. He tries out fire skills, but he ends up burning another tree. We learn that in the game he was playing last night, his role was a knight with a subclass as a priest, which means he shouldn't be able to use magic, but somehow, he is. Before trying out the rest of his skills, he feels hungry, so he decides to find a town. He uses teleportation magic, but ends up falling off the cliff, because to use the teleportation skill, he must have visited that place at least once before. While climbing up the cliff, he remembers that he has another skill that could be useful, Dimension Move. He can't really fly, but with this Dimension Move, he can teleport a few meters forward, so Ark is really f***ing enjoying being OP, but he notices some realistic looking water, so he takes off his helmet to drink some, but gets jump scared at seeing a skeleton in the water. However, that skeleton is actually his own reflection, and behind his armor is a skeleton body because he picked the skeleton avatar. So he's worried that if he shows up in the town looking like this, all the stupid f***ing NPCs will start hunting him down since he looks like a monster. He doesn't want to become someone else's XP, so he decides to never take off his helmet in front of people. Now he's like every other man, hiding their bones in public. He enters the town and explores the market. So far, no one is suspicious of him and he seems to be fitting in nicely, but just then, a nice lady shopkeeper offers him food from her stall for a nice discount, but Ark tells her he doesn't have any money right now, and the lady finds it odd because of how sick his armor is. Ark walks through the town, thinking that this world is based more on medieval times than fantasy, but he needs money, so he walks through a back alley for some reason. Just then, he overhears a lady in a purple cloak arguing with a man. Apparently, she paid double his usual rates to investigate something, but this scammer pretends that he did investigate, but found nothing, so the girl leaves, and this prick curses the lady elf behind her back. But upon hearing that she's an elf, Ark gets f***ing hyped at seeing someone straight out of a fantasy world. Ark tries to follow her like a creep, but ends up losing her trail. He finds himself in front of the mercenary guild, so he decides to look inside as he knows he can accept quests in a guild. He walks into the guild, but he grabs the attention of everybody because of his lavish armor. If that's what people are finding surprising, they should see what he's packing inside of it, the skeleton. He asks the guild keeper how to get a guild license, so Eyepatch Bro thinks that Mr. Armor is messing with him, saying he looks like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Ark doesn't want to stand out, so he thinks of a way to get the license while pretending to be a knight. He tells Patchy that secret orders have led him to need the license, so Eyepatch respects his privacy, explaining that he needs to hunt 3 of one of the following categories: the beasts, the monsters, or bandits, and return with proof to get the license. Ark is excited to battle with the monsters, so he sets out, but as he is walking out, one of the other members in Eyepatch feels sorry for Ark, thinking how he probably has to take mercenary work to pay for his sick child. But Ark hears this, and he is f***ing hyped that he got a random tragic backstory assigned to him. Later on, Ark manages to take down 2 boars, but just then, an orc appears from the bush, so Ark is delighted to battle with a fantasy creature, but the poor orc gets slain in 2 seconds while Ark fangirls. After packing up the dead bodies as proof, Ark walks back to the town, but he notices some strange sounds coming from the other side, so he decides to take a look. He sees a caravan being hijacked by bandits and all the guards have been slain. The maid is trying to protect her lady, but Harry Dildo laughs at them. Ark can see where things are going, but he's nervous because bandits are actually humans, not just monsters. He is painfully slow at providing help, and the bandits have started to do rated R stuff again. The maid threatens the bandits, but they don't give a fuck, so Ark finally teleports to them, slaying 4 of the bandits with a single swing. Seeing that their cheap-ass boss has been slain, the rest of the bandits gather their courage and decide to trust their muscles. Their leg muscles, to run as fast as possible, but Ark lands a wyvern slash on those pussies. He tries to calm the crying lady and asks if she's alright. She wouldn't be crying if the skeleton didn't wait 10 minutes, but the maid thanks him and introduces the lady as Lauren Laraya du Louviert of the Louviert family, the family of extremely long names. The maid introduces herself as her attendant Rita. She asks Ark if he's a knight in the service of some lord, but Ark doesn't know what to say, so he dodges the question by saying that they should cover themselves first. He checks to see if the girls are paying attention to him, but they're not, so he incinerates the dead bodies and loots them. They return, so he offers to head back to town with them for their safety, but on the ride, Miss Lauren seems to be falling for a skeleton. After getting back to the town, he gets his license from the guild. Mr. Eyepatch hands him the rune from the orc, explaining that these stones can be made into magic items and weapons, so Ark thanks him and leaves, deciding to head straight to the inn and order food to be delivered to his room. Somewhere else in this world, a mother wakes up every morning before the sun rises to work the fields. Her elder daughter notices her mother heading out every morning, so she writes a guild request, saying that she needs help with picking out herbs to do something nice for her mother. Guess who accepted this quest? Ark arrives at the village and Uncle Guard guides Ark in the directions to Miss Siona's house. He's trying to maintain a low profile, so this kind of boring, yet meaningful job is perfect for him. Ark knocks on the door, so the little girl opens the door, but she shits her pants at seeing this ultra-huge knight. Ark informs her that he's here at Miss Marka's request, so the girl reveals that she is Marka. In a flashback, when Ark told the guild manager that he wanted to pick this picking herbs job, Eyepatch thought that Ark was trying to prank him, so he suggested that he should join up with a mercenary guild for better jobs, but since Ark cannot risk revealing his identity, so he told the manager that he has an interest in herb picking. Marka serves Ark some tea, and she nervously asks Ark if he's sure about accepting this lame f***ing job. But Ark says he has an interest in herb picking, so Marka asks him to head out right away, so Ark agrees, and they set out to the forest. While they are walking in the forest, Ark asks why she wanted to leave so fast, explaining that her job stated that there have been 2 boars appearing around the village. Marka reveals that it's because she doesn't want her mother to know that she went into the forest. Ever since her father lost his life last year due to being a f***ing noob, her mother has been doing everything on her own to raise them, so Marka wanted to help her out. Ark is deeply moved by Marka's words, but he feels ashamed over how he only thought about playing games when he was her age. Although he still only played games after growing up too. Marka shows Ark some herbs, and Ark praises Marka-sensei for teaching him about herbs, so Marka explains that her father used to give her a lot of herb wisdom. Just then, he senses something behind the bushes, so he tells Marka to stop moving. He cautiously looks behind the bushes, expecting to see a monster. However, it turns out to be a multi-tailed squirrel-type animal. Ark notices that her leg is bruised, so he extends his hand, only to get bitten. Ark casts healing magic and fully heals the cute animal, so the animal takes a liking to Ark, but Ark tells it to go wherever he came from. However, the animal stays in its place, so Marka says that maybe it wants to stay with Ark. It meows in favor, so Ark agrees, and Marka suggests giving him a name. After thinking about it, Ark comes up with fried tofu or tempura. Little Guy is already disappointed with his new master, so Ark thinks again, and this time, he uses more of his brain cells and comes up with the name Ponta, and Ponta likes his name. Marka and Ark continue their herb-picking journey with a new companion, but at the village, one of the hunters informs the village about a strange beast he came across in the forest, saying it looked dangerous enough that they should not hunt in the forest for a while. But Mrs. Siona is also back in the village, so guard uncle asks her if she sent Marka to run some kind of errand. He tells her that he saw Marka leading the village with a knight, so since there have been monsters sighted in the forest, he thought he should let her know. Mrs. Siona gets worried, but he assures her that the knight seems really strong, so she doesn't have to worry. In the forest, Ark and Marka arrive at a hole in the ground with a white tree in the middle. Marka is f***ing hyped to see that the kabumi tree is all white, so she runs towards it, but Ark tells her to stop immediately, because both he and Ponto can sense something dangerous behind the tree. Ponta's reaction makes it clear that this ugly Karen is what hurt Ponta. He is about to attack Marka, but thankfully, Ark doesn't wait this time and saves her from the attack. The monster gets angry, so he releases a purple fart from its mouth, making the flowers die right away, but Ark avoids the gas and analyzes the giant basilisk. The basilisk attacks Ark, but he easily blocks its attacks. The creepy basilisk wants to have some tongue play with Ark, but Ark is not letting that happen, not in front of the little girl at least. The monster goes berserk after failing to kill Ark, so he shakes its head and roars, making every creature in the vicinity turn into stone. But Ark casts a holy shield, wondering what fucking prick decided to give it 6 legs. The basilisk uses the purple poop once again, but the shield blocks the gas and sends it back to the monster. The monster takes a couple of steps back, so Ark takes the opportunity to launch his judgment skill. Surprisingly, the monster gets cut in half with a single attack, so Ark raises his sword victoriously, hyped that his second monster slain was a giant basilisk. Marka praises Ark, but he tells her that he only did what a guard should do. Marka shares that everyone in the village will be so happy the dangerous beast is dead, so she bets that everyone will be celebrating tonight. But that is so not what Ark wants, because he only chose this job to keep a low profile, so he asks Marka to keep the details of this creature's death a secret, and Marka agrees. Before moving on, Ark notices a ring on the monster's leg, but before he can inspect it, it disappears. Ark realizes that the fanged boars appearing near the village must have been chased there by this beast, but suddenly, Ark notices a fanged bear, so he decides to take it down so the villagers can have a feast tonight. Back at the village, Ark shares that he will be taking its fangs and the rune stone. However, he gives the meat to Marka so she can share it with all the villagers. Mrs. Siona sees Marka and comes running to her. She hugs her tightly and starts crying, saying that she was really worried about her and to never fucking run off again or she will. But Marka shows her the herd she gathered, and Ark also apologizes for going along with Marka without letting her know first. He vouches for Marka, saying that he never met a child who cares more for her mother than Marka, so he asks her not to. Mrs. Siona feels proud and thanks him, but the villagers ask him about the fearsome monster in the forest, so he says that they have nothing to worry about, as there was nothing he couldn't handle. Before the sun sets, Ark says goodbye to Mrs. Siona and her family. Helena, Marka's little sister, presents Ark with a flower crown as a reward, and Marka pets Panta. He promises to visit them soon and heads off. Meanwhile, another basilisk monster is taken down by a group of knights. However, 15 soldiers lost their lives while 38 were injured. Yellow-haired guy informs the commander that there was another basilisk under the white tree, but it seemed to be taken out by a single person. The commander can fucking believe it, so he wonders if that someone is God or the devil, all while the skeleton devil enjoys his beer with Panta, as Ark looks forward to trying an even more challenging quest tomorrow. A couple of days later, the purple-cloaked elf is walking in the forest, thinking that she needs to get stronger. The pact between humans and the elves is a joke at this point, because the humans continue taking over their lands, so to stop the humans, she needs to become stronger as she is the daughter of the leader of elves. She arrives outside a cave, but she sees a knight in silver armor. It's Ark. Earlier that night, Ark journeys into the cave, but the bandits run away from him since he already killed f***ing 20 of them. Ark and Panta walk down the cave laughing, and the bandits piss themselves at having nowhere to run to, but Ark just monologues that he has gotten used to running casual quests to cover his daily expenses. He sees a curtain hiding something, so he turns the curtain aside, revealing chests of gold coins, but he also notices 2 strange empty cages. For now, he decides to take as much loot as possible and head back. Meanwhile, a man named Celsica reports to his pregnant, mustache boss that the attempt to assassinate Lauren Louviert, the girl that was violated earlier, failed. The boss, Triton du Diento, is angry over the failure of a simple and easy job, so Celsica tries to explain himself, saying they would have succeeded, but a passing solo mercenary wiped them out, so Triton curses the useless bandits. He asks about what happened to the 2 basilisks that they sent onto the Louviert lands, so Celsica shares that those basilisks were still in an experimental phase, but they were slain. Triton finds it sus, but he doesn't really f***ing care, but Celsica asks why Prince Tekars is targeting the Louvier family in the first place, so Triton explains that he doesn't know why, but he thinks that it might be a request from the prince's backers in the Eastern Empire, and we learn that Prince Tekars is trying to help invade his own kingdom. If the Louvier lands were under Prince Tekars' rule, the Eastern Empire would be able to focus on their invasion of the West. But Louvier has the backing of the Western Empire, which means the boss can't afford to have their allegiance to Prince Tekars be revealed, because Prince Sect, the other prince of their kingdom, would f*** the shit out of them. I mean f*** them up if that happened. Triton also asks Celsica to make sure to secure their mystery product, which is ready to launch into the market, and to make sure Princess Uriarna doesn't hear about this. He ends by asking about his son, Eudolin, and Celsica informs him that he will be escorting the product today, but Triton thinks they're f***ed because his son is f***ing useless and f***s everything up. Back at the cave, Ark steps out with a bag full of loot, but just then, he gets attacked by someone who he thinks is a surviving bandit, so he dodges her attacks, but Ark recognizes her from the alley, and before he can say anything, she demands Ark to return the children he has abducted. Ark tries to explain to her that this is a misunderstanding, but she thinks he's trying to fool her, so Ark tells her to look at him before accusing him of being a bandit. Lady Elf realizes that he looks like a knight, but now she despises the shit out of him for being a bandit and disguising himself as a knight. Just then, Ponta appears, so she is surprised at seeing a Ventu Vulpes. Ark asks her, "Then a what?" But she just asks why a spirit creature is with him. Ponta confirms that she is a spirit creature, a cottontail fox, and Elf adds that they are known to be cautious, so they rarely even take a liking to elves, let alone humans. Lady Elf can't handle how f***ing cute Ponta is, so she acknowledges that she was wrong and apologizes for attacking him. She reveals that she heard bandits here are hunting elves, so she came here to rescue them. Ark reveals that he committed mass murder, so there's nobody inside, and asks her why the bandits captured elves, so she tells him that elves fetch a high price on the slave market. Just as she is about to leave, Ark nervously shares that she's the first elf he's ever seen, so if she needs any help, he is available. However, she straight up refuses Ark's pure, although a bit lusty offer, saying that elves can deal with their own problems, so she leaves, but Ark is still optimistic to someday be helpful to this beautiful elf. Back in their room, Ponta is asleep and Ark is downing a few mugs of beer in his skeletal stomach, and like a real man, he thinks about his brief interaction with Batty Elf. Ponta wakes up from the slam of the mug, so Ark tells her the plan for tomorrow, and the next morning, Ark goes into the woods to look for elf forests. Just then, he hears a few voices and traces the sound. A little elf girl is being chased by a bandit. He informs his master, Mr. Udalin, Strange Mustache's son, that he caught the slave who was trying to run away, so Udalin tells him to handcuff her and put her back in the cage with the other 3 girls. The girl gives a death stare to Udalin, so Bullhead, son of a pregnant guy with a pubic mustache, bruises her leg with his sword. Ark arrives at the scene and watches from behind the bush. He remembers that the Lady Elf told him to stay out of elf business last night, but he knows that this situation is pretty f***ed up, so he makes his move. But the love of his life comes flying into the battlefield and slays 2 of the bandits with a single swing. Udalin's dog tells him that she's a dark elf, so she could fetch a very high price. A squad of creepies surrounds the lady, but she easily slays the weaklings. She states at Udalin, making Udon Noodles poop his pants, but he takes a little girl hostage, stating that if she doesn't stop, he will hurt the girls. Lady Elf didn't expect this, and she doesn't know what to do, so the creepies surround her again, trying to humiliate her. But our big guy uses his dimension skill to appear behind Udalin as he knocks out this mama's boy with a bowl cut, so Lady Elf takes care of the rest of the bandits. They look at the cage, but it's locked, so Ark breaks the lock to free the girls, but she's shocked he broke that shit with his bare hands. His gigantic armor scares the girls, so they hug Lady Elf instead, but she notices the man-eater collars on their necks, and we learn they keep them from using their spirit magic. Lady Elf doesn't know how to break it, so the Ark steps in and uses uncursed magic. He successfully removes the collars and even heals the scars on the girls, but Lady Elf can't f***ing believe that Ark can use healing and uncursed magic with barely any incantations. Now he's the hero of the girls. Lady Elf summons her spirit animal, asking it to send for someone to come and recover the girls. Ark is confused, so she explains that this bird is a whispering fowl, so it can remember speech and deliver messages, further explaining that humans can rarely tame these birds, so they are the best way for elves to communicate, and Ark fucking loves how fantasy this is. But it's time to go, so the girls say goodbye to their hero, who promises to rush to their aid whenever they are in danger. Lady Elf finally asks the question that is a must-have in every isekai Overpowered anime. She praises him for his strong skills, but she asks who he really is, so Ark tells her his name and states that he's just a traveling mercenary. So Lady Elf introduces herself as Ariane Glenny's Maple, an elf warrior, and thanks him for his help. Suddenly, another bird comes her way, and it tells Ariane they found the bandit headquarters, so she is being summoned to rescue the elf prisoners. Ariane agrees, but she looks at Ark and asks Ark if she could hire him as a mercenary right now. And that brings us to the end of this episode of Skeleton Knight in Another World. Till next time.